Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, as per your respective time zones. On behalf of entire Mastek Managed Services team, we would like to welcome you all to 23B Supply Chain Management Advisory Webinar session. This important session is to keep you fully synchronized with new features and functionalities as a part of this quarterly release, which Oracle provides. My name is Sohil Malik, and I am an Operation Executive at Managed Services with Mastek. Today, I'm your host for this session, and I'm glad to introduce my colleague Ronak Vatyani, who is part of our vast supply chain team at Mastek. Today, he will take us through all the procurement and advanced procurement updates for 23B quarterly release. Today's session is planned for around 45 to 60 minutes, and we will also make sure that we also leave some time to answer all your questions you may have. We also have panelists available, Rashi Sharma, so you can ask any questions through chat or question panel. Before we move to the agenda, let's have a quick look at the important disclaimer. We would like to convey our approach towards the Oracle updates in a very simpler method. We will be taking you through vital analysis for 23B updates done by our experts, which will help you incorporating new features and updates easily into the system. Also, we will sync you on any bugs or known issues if there are any. It's good to have an interactive session, so please do ask questions through chat or question panel. We will answer them at the end of the session. In case if we run out of time, we will make sure to respond you back by connecting you at a later stage to answer your questions. This is to give you a glimpse of how we have crafted the structure of this session. First is list of new features coming to 23B. Detailing on features so you get brief understanding on what new features are all about. Next is what are the business benefits and the important takeaway for you as a decision maker. There are 4 components where we have done in-depth analysis of features which are going to present to you. First one is impact level analysis, which demonstrate the impact on the end user. If it's low impact, then regression testing can be avoided. If it's high, then we need to opt for regression testing. Second one is, which we are all aware that there are some features which are by default auto-enabled by Oracle, and there are some which we need to opt for. Third one highlights the nature of the feature. There would be certain configuration which may be required, or some can be used without any changes. Last one is a quick win. This term we use to simply convey that what is ready to use by investing minimum amount of time and what requires significant amount of time and effort to make use of this feature. Now, before we hand over to Ronak, we would like to know, with the help of a quick poll, which industry does your organization belong to? This will help us creating more fruitful webinar content moving forward. Launching the poll now. Thank you everyone for participating. We will be closing the poll now. Hi Ronak, I'll be handing over to you now. Please unmute yourself and begin the session.
Thank you, Sohil, for explaining how we are going to proceed with this presentation. Hello, everyone. So now we'll be starting with what are the features, and I'll be explaining in depth and try to give you the importance that they hold when it comes to Oracle upgrades. So our analysis of the latest release. So before going into each and every uh, upgrade that is available in this new 23B Oracle, here is the statistics which will inform you of. So at the moment we have 27 upgrades coming under procurement and advanced procurement. And out of those, we can see over here that 17 of them are not a quick win, right? Which means basically they require uh, some sort of configuration, right? And there are 6 which are a quick win, which is basically you enable them and then you can start using them immediately, right? And you don't have to do any sort of configuration for that. And the other ones are by default, wherein you don't need to enable anything or you don't need to do any sort of configuration, right? And yeah, so basically again we have a distribution of 2 and 3 over there. That is, 2 are not a quick win and 3 are a quick win. So moving towards the very first uh, upgrade, that is integrate and extend procurement using REST services. So in this particular upgrade, there are certain new REST APIs, right, which will help enhancing the using the APIs in the Oracle Fusion. So one is procurement persons LOV, right? So these are the new APIs that is introduced. One is procurement persons LOV, then procurement approved supplier list entries. One is approved supplier list source documents. Apart from that, there are existing APIs which were available and they have been enhanced. So one is requisition preferences. You can now provide a requester that's different from the preparer in requisition preferences during creation, post, and update batch of requisitions. In update 23A, the requester and preparer had to be the same. So there is a new functionality which allows you now to have the requisitioner and the preparer different when you're running these API. Again, the second bit is requisition processing requests. Get, post, and batch are supported for the source contract purchase agreement attribute. So earlier, we did not have this. Sorry, we had this, but the post and batch were not supported. So now we have the post and batch for the source procurement purchase, source contract purchase agreement attribute. Continuing on the same topic, that is integrate and extend procurement using REST services, there are few more enhancements. So draft purchase orders, get, post, and batch are supported for override B2B communication attribute. Use the request funds override flag to request funds override when submitting purchase orders that are subject to budgetary controls for approval. So basically, using the API, you can now controls override B2B communication attribute as well as the request funds override flag. Purchase orders, get is supported for these attributes. So supplier communication method, these are basically the attributes on the purchase orders. On the purchase order, to email, CC email, BCC email, supplier facts, and override B2B communication. Use the communicate custom action to recommunicate any purchase order revision by specifying the revision number in the change order attribute. So we can now communicate the purchase orders uh, whenever there is a revision through the API. Supplier negotiation responses, that's the next one. Use the validate and submit negotiation response custom action to validate and submit a draft supplier response. Moving to the next one, remove prefix from subject lines and titles in workflow notifications. So by default, email and an in-app notification sent out as part of workflow or approval process have a prefix in the subject line or title. For example, action required. So that is basically a prefix whenever some notification is sent for an approver to take an action, right? So if you have a specific requirement, you can choose to exclude that prefix in the notification that are sent. For a particular workflow task, you can set this up for specific combinations of task statuses and recipients. For example, you can exclude the prefix when the task status is assigned and notifications are sent to the assignees. Your setup won't apply to the FIR notifications, which will always show the prefix. So this particular functionality or upgrade is only applicable for actionable notifications and not for FIR notifications. What is the business benefit for this? Removing the prefix can help grab the reader's attention with a more direct notification subject line or title. For example, action required early payment offer, accelerate payments for up to $1,000 becomes early payment offer, accelerate payments for up to $1,000 after the prefix is removed. Right. So basically we have removed the action required. This is as written, can be done in cases wherein you want to grab the reader's attention and have them action that particular notification well in advance. Login process inbound B2B messages. So this particular functionality is with respect to the B2B communication within procurement. So the details, inbound B2B messages are logged after all setup validations are completed and before processing begins. You can see a list of inbound messages that are in process on the collaboration messaging history page. After processing is complete, the status updates to reflect the outcome. So whenever the processing of these B2B messages is completed, the status updates to reflect the outcome. When a message with multiple instances of the same document type is received, the original message status is received. The message status of each instance is in process. The message ID generated for each instance is a concatenation of the original message ID and a number representing the counter of the document type. So it's a combination of message ID and a number representing the counter of the document type. Next one is update rules for processing complex change requests in inbound order acknowledgements. So as per the new version of the Oracle purchase order acknowledgement inbound message has updated processing rules that support the following scenarios. So as per the new version of Oracle Purchase Order Acknowledgement, these are the scenarios, right, which have been updated. So if the buyer manage transport checkbox is selected for a purchase order and the acknowledgement received includes a promised delivery date, the acknowledgement is now processed and no longer skipped as before, right? So it gives importance to the promised delivery date, which it did not before. Additionally, the promised delivery date is recorded along with a note. You need to create two descriptive flex fields at the PO line level for this purpose, and that would be B2B provided date and B2B provided date note. If the buyer managed transport checkbox isn't selected for a PO and the acknowledgement received includes a promised ship date, the acknowledgement is processed and the two descriptive flex fields are automatically populated. A unit price may now be included with an item substitution code. When the acknowledgement is processed, the price on the PO line is updated and the substitute item is recorded in the descriptive flex field created for this purpose. So moving to the next slide. Exchange B2B messages with your trading partners using KINETIX. A new predefined service provider, KINETIX, is available for your procure-to-pay and electronic invoicing needs. You can use KINETIX to connect with your trading partners via the Pan-European Public Procurement Online Network. KINETIX is a certified PEPPOL access point and solution provider. So Oracle has basically providing this service provider, right, so that we can use this functionality. When you use the KINETIX predefined service provider, you benefit by having one messaging standard and delivery method to exchange messages with your trading partners. In addition, the messages and delivery methods are predefined, thereby streamlining the B2B setup in the collaboration messaging work area. Search requisitions by line descriptive flex fields as a buyer. Search for requisition lines using requisition descriptive line flex field. So when we are on the process requisition page, and if as a buyer we want to search particular requisition lines based on certain descriptive flex fields, Oracle is now providing that functionality to help the buyers easily find requisitions that they want to convert into a purchase order. To search for requisition lines using global and context-sensitive descriptive flex fields, use the advanced search option on the process requisition page. So in the screenshot below, we can see that once you have clicked on advanced, we will have additional options, which is line context and year of manufacturing, through which the buyer can search for the requisition lines which they want to convert into a PO. And in the search results, we also see that additional requisition information, additional line information, and additional details are or will be visible to the buyer when they search in this manner. Use order date to determine the price on purchase orders. Use order date to determine the price on purchase orders instead of requested delivery or shipment dates. Before this update, the application always used the requested delivery or ship dates to derive the price on the purchase order lines sourced from a blanket purchase agreement. As a result, existing purchase order lines would be repriced if a line's requested delivery date or shipment dates were modified. Now, with this new feature, existing purchase order lines aren't repriced when the line's requested delivery date or shipment dates are modified. So basically, they are only modified if the PO dates are being modified. So basically, when the order date is taken into consideration to update the price and not the requisition delivery or shipment date. Further, when requisition lines are sourced from a blanket purchase agreement, the price on requisition lines will be derived using the application date instead of the requested delivery date. To use this feature, you must configure non-cumulative price breaks such that the order date lies between the start date and end date of a price break. So in order to use this functionality, we need to have, if you are using price breaks, we need to have non-cumulative price breaks, and we cannot make use of cumulative price breaks. Derive the charge account on purchase orders and requisitions based on the line amount. The transaction account builder to derive the charge account on purchase orders and requisitions based on the line amount. So earlier, we didn't have the functionality of generating the charge account on the requisitions and orders based on the amount of the line. With this new functionality, you can now configure account derivation rules to generate an asset account if the line amount goes above a certain threshold. This new source is expressed in the functional currency of the requisitioning business unit. So if you want to configure this, this will work on the basis of the functional currency defined in the system. Suppose that you want to account a purchase to either an expense account or an asset account based on the line amount, you can do so by setting account rule conditions to check if the line amount is less than or greater than 100. So assuming if the amount in consideration is less than 100, we can say to derive the expense account. If the amount is greater than 100, then we can derive the asset account. Route purchase orders for approval based on referenced documents. Use source document references such as blanket and contract purchase agreements, master contracts, and negotiation references to route purchasing documents for approval. The sourced to blanket approval attribute indicates whether blanket purchase agreement references exist on the purchase order line. So if you want to configure purchase order approvals based on whether the blanket purchase agreement is attached to that particular purchase order line or not, we can now do that. Similarly, the source to contract agreement approval attribute indicates whether a contract purchase agreement reference exists on the purchase order line. The master contract exists approval indicates whether a master contract exists on the document. So on the purchase order, we do have a field which on the header of the purchase order wherein we can store the master contract, but the approval can now be configured based on that master contract field. The negotiation approval attribute indicates whether a negotiation reference exists on the purchase document line. So if a negotiation is linked with a particular purchase order line, then we can configure the approval based on that. You can now create approval rules with source to blanket agreement, source to contract agreement, master contract, and negotiation to route purchasing documents for approval. Next one is override B2B communication of purchase orders. Override B2B communication of the purchase orders where supplier sites are configured for B2B messaging. You can communicate your purchase orders to your suppliers using an alternate communication method such as email or fax. So for any supplier site which is configured for B2B communication or B2B messaging, we can enable the override B2B communication for those relevant purchase orders to prevent B2B communication and communicate using the communication method setting instead. So as shown in the screenshot, while creating the purchase order, if we have enabled the B2B communication for a relevant site, then we can check this box of override B2B communication, and that should help to override the existing setup from the supplier side. Accept supplier part number corrections from purchase order acknowledgement inbound messages. You can now have the application configured to automatically flow down supplier part number correction into purchase order lines from purchase order acknowledgement messages from suppliers. Such changes are possible even if the purchase order line is sourced from a blanket purchase agreement. Before this update, supplier initiated changes to correct the supplier item number for purchase orders on pending supplier acknowledgement status were only available through Oracle Supplier Portal. With this new update, supplier can also correct supplier item numbers through the Oracle Purchase Order Acknowledgement inbound message on Oracle Fusion Cloud Collaboration Messaging Framework. Generate reports on purchase orders with US federal attributes using OTBI. So in this upgrade, US federal attributes to generate reports on purchase orders using the purchasing real-time subject area and pending change orders real-time subject areas. These are the attributes that are available. So under procurement purchasing real-time subject area, purchase order header detail, enable for data act reporting, data act award type, procurement instrument identifier, parent award ID, federal assistance identification number, and unique record identifier. These are the new attributes have been included. Purchase order schedules. At the purchase order schedule level, trading partner TS and trading partner BETC have been included. At the purchase order distribution level, BETC attribute has been added for reporting. Additionally, for the same upgrade, purchase order pending change order header detail. These are the attributes enabled for data act reporting, data act award type, procurement instrument identifier, parent award ID, federal assistance identification number, unique record identifier. At the schedule level, purchase order pending change order schedule detail, trading partner TAS, and trading partner BETC. At the distribution level, BETC has been included for any orders that are in the changed or revision mode. In this upgrade, there also have been certain bug fixes. So one of them is update base model price as a supplier user. So before 23B, as a supplier, you could not update the base model price for a configured item using the purchase order web service. Now, suppliers users could only make this online change through supplier portal itself. After this update, suppliers can use the purchase order web service and the user interface to update the base model price. So it basically takes the dependency away from the supplier portal. Validate approval action when importing purchase orders and purchase agreements. Before 23B, you could import purchase orders and purchase agreements without selecting a value for the approval action parameter, although approval action is a required field. Purchasing documents imported with an empty approval action were automatically submitted for approval after import. From this update onward, the approval action parameter displays a default value, submit for approval, and we can now choose. Moving to other bug fixes, prevent creation of multiple purchase orders for sales order kits and shipment sets. So before this update, as a buyer, you could manually create multiple purchase orders from sales order lines that were part of a kit or shipment set. After 23B, all sales order lines that are part of a kit or a shipment set must be placed onto a single purchase order. So you can no more create multiple purchase order for a kit or a shipment set. Validate required descriptive flex fields upon PO submission. Before this update, as a buyer, you could submit a PO for approval even if no values were entered for this required descriptive flex fields. From this update, you can set the ORA PO validate required flex fields profile option to Y so that the application validates that all required descriptive flex fields have been populated for orders submitted in the application. Enabling this profile option may result in slower performance when submitting orders with more than 200 lines. Another bug fix that has been done in this upgrade is prevent automatic updates to deliver to location when requester changes after partial receipt or invoice. The deliver to location is no longer re-derived when the requester is manually updating on distribution for a schedule that has been partially received or invoiced. So if a particular requisition has been received, partially received, or invoiced, it will not allow to update the deliver to location. Select multiple external purchase prices for an item. You can now manually select multiple external purchase prices for an item and unit of measure combination in a requisition business unit. All the lines selected by you will be available in the blanket purchase agreements. On the external purchase price page, select one or more external purchase price lines in the More Actions drop-down, select for purchasing. The status of the manually selected lines is shown as user selected. You can also manually select lines using Visual Builder add-in enabled Excel template. So basically you can do it from the system as well as you can do it through an Excel template. The selection criteria specified in the Manage External Purchase Price Selection criteria will not be applied to the items with manually selected lines. When more than one external purchase price line is selected for the same item and unit of measure combination, all the selected lines will be available in the blanket purchase agreements. Moving to the next slide, enhancements to transaction console diagnostic log. The transaction console diagnostic log now includes two new sections, and you can enable and make use of task level configuration and transaction history. So transaction console is basically wherein you can check what are the issues that are being encountered in the approval of a particular transaction, right? And in that particular transaction console, there are two new sections that have been added, that is task level configuration and transaction history. You can now view these sections when you download the diagnostic log from any pending or error transaction details in the transaction console. So for example, if there was a requisition for which the approval was an error and we download the diagnostic log for it, we will also get the details of task level configuration and transaction history. New business classifications for enhanced ESG reporting. So reports for environment, social and governance data are becoming mission critical and in many jurisdictions required by regulation. Without standard business classification, there's additional manual work to create them, which can lead to errors and increased risk they will be missed in reporting. So in order to ensure this, Oracle has now provided additional business classifications which are not supposed to be created. So expanding the standard supplier business classifications to include LGBTQ plus owned and person with disability owned enhances ESG reporting. So we just need to enable these additional business classifications from the relevant setup and not create on our own. Display supplier item, manufacturer and manufacturer number in negotiation. So with this upgrade, the supplier item, manufacturer and manufacturer number have been included so that when the suppliers are responding to a particular negotiation, they can view what exactly is the supplier item number which they are storing in the system, the manufacturer and the manufacturer number. Right? This will make the supplier to respond more efficiently and more accurately. Configure online message notification with Oracle Analytics Publisher. So a new Oracle Analytics Publisher template is now available for online messaging notification that can provide you an improved experience with supplier communication. You can now configure the content and layout of the online message notification using an Oracle Analytics Publisher template. So earlier we had the messaging functionality, but we did not have the option to include or amend the template of the messages, right? With this new upgrade, we should be able to do so, and we can also show additional fields by adding them to the template to meet our specific business requirements. So, for example, we can see there's this negotiation online message for negotiation, right? If we want to include any specific detail from our negotiation, right, we can do that by putting through the template or configuring the template so that the person who is receiving the message is able to get the accurate information or the relevant information. Invite additional suppliers to a large negotiation. You can now invite additional suppliers to a large negotiation after it's published using a background process. So if there is a scenario wherein we want to publish a negotiation which is supposed to have uh, many suppliers, and if we have already published the negotiation, we can still run the background process and invite additional suppliers. So the background process will generate negotiation documents and response lines which will be sent to all the newly invited suppliers. So this will help to speed up the process of inviting new suppliers. Export a range of response lines in large negotiations. While creating a response to a large negotiation, supplier can now export a range of response lines by specifying from and to line numbers. So with this new upgrade, if there are let's say 5,000 lines on a particular negotiation, and supplier wants to export the lines and then respond to them with a particular range, say from a line number starting from 1,000 till line number ending with 5,000, they can put the range and they can respond for those, they can export those lines and then respond on those specific lines. Select a set of response lines to export by specifying from and to line numbers in large negotiations. Again, this will make the process for the suppliers very efficient and they will be able to respond quickly. Use Page Composer to control actions for scoring only team members. In this update, you can now use Page Composer, which is basically you'll have to create a sandbox, and then within the sandbox, you use the Page Composer functionality to configure UI and actions for scoring only team members. For example, you may want to restrict scoring only members from downloading line attachments or provide specific instructions on the UI screens. Use two new negotiation parameters, one to identify scoring only members and another price visibility access. The two parameters that are supported is not scoring online only user is price visibility enabled. So these are the two parameters for identifying the scoring only team members. Using these parameters to configure UI pages and actions available to scoring only members based on their price visibility access will help to accomplish business needs related to data security and audit compliance. So if we make use of this functionality, we'll be basically helping or we'll be basically achieving the data security and audit compliance, which is a must in today's environment. Subscribe to negotiation invitation business event for outbound integration. Many customers include public sector in the Americas and EMEA are required to publish sourcing events on regulatory platforms and B2B sourcing marketplaces to provide equal business opportunities. There's also a requirement to send the negotiation opportunity to suppliers who aren't registered. For all such requirements, integrations can be built that use a public business event when negotiations are published and pass negotiation info using the Oracle REST web services. So this particular functionality will help to basically make the process of negotiation invitation and negotiation responses more transparent. And with more transparency, it will also become more effective. The negotiation invitation public business event sends a signal that a negotiation is published and is open for suppliers to respond. You can now use it to enable outbound integration between your supplier negotiations and any other external systems using the Oracle Integration Cloud services. Improve classification results with phrase-based learning. Improve classification results by using the training data values for specific attributes as phrases rather than individual keywords. The values of certain attributes like supplier names recorded in an organization's spend data are rarely a single word as they are typically made up of multiple words. You can now enable the classification matching algorithms to identify patterns in these attribute values using phrases during knowledge base creation, greatly improving the accuracy of the category predictions. For example, if you selected the supplier name to be used for phrase-based learning, a supplier name like Vision Corporation will be considered as a single phrase and compared with all the supplier names only. An invoice with supplier names such as Vision College won't be considered a match for this particular training. So again, with this functionality, we'll be able to identify the exact data that we want to check. Manage rules with additionally available information. Identify which classification rules were used to improve category predictions through a new column in the batch details download file that displays the names of the rules that may have influenced the category prediction or modified the values of some of the attributes. With this additional information, we can work to understand how the rules have influenced the predictions and opt to revise or add rules as necessary. So we can see in this particular screenshot in the rightmost column, the rules applied. The system, when we export this, we will be able to see what sort of modifications have been done. So replace item and normalize supplier. And this will ultimately help us to remove or add new rules as necessary. Upload your contract document in the background. So this functionality is for the Oracle Fusion Procurement Contract module. You can now upload your contract document from the contract terms page or Oracle contracts wording using an automated scheduled background process. So we have the scheduled process. Through that, we can upload the contract document. we can continue to perform limited actions from the contract terms page or work on other contracts while the upload is in progress. So even though we are uploading contract, we can still work on that particular contract, right? That is in progress. You can now override this option if you want to upload your document in real time. So basically, we can override this. You are notified by email when the contract document is uploaded, and you can also view the notification in the application. So by sending out the notification, it gives out real-time information that the contract has been uploaded and you can continue your work on that. If you display content control in downloaded Word document, so while using the contract terms template, if you are making use of the type as structured terms, we can choose to display content control boxes in Microsoft Word when the contract is downloaded. When the contract is downloaded to Microsoft Word, we'll be able to see content control boxes when you click on each clause, clause title, or selection title. In this particular screenshot, we can see that this is controlled by this checkbox, which is available in the general area of the contract terms template, display content control in downloaded contract. Collaborate on contract negotiations using Oracle Content Management. Collaborate with internal and external stakeholders in real time and gain transparency in each step of the negotiation process. Users across various internal teams like legal, sales, and procurement can review, edit, start conversations, and add comments to a contract document in Oracle Content Management. So if we are linking contract negotiations with Oracle Content Management, we will have this functionality of providing our comments in real time. External users, including customers, suppliers, and third-party users like lawyers, can have controlled access to the contract documents. They can actively collaborate using the built-in Microsoft Word online capability. At any point in time, all stakeholders have access to a single source of truth, which makes the entire negotiation process seamless. Since this functionality provides full view or view in a restricted manner, this gives the transparency to the entire negotiation process. Once the collaboration is completed, you can check in the document to enterprise contracts from Oracle Content Management. Once the entire process of collaborating on a particular document has ended, right, we can check the details in the Oracle Content Management. You can share a contract document in OCM for collaboration directly from the contract. A new task, Share in Content Management, is available under the Contract Actions menu. So when we are creating a contract, at that point on the contract header, we will have the actions, and under those actions, we will have a new task, that is Share in Content Management. So yeah, these were the upgrades that are introduced in 23B. So you may now take over.
Thank you, Ronak, for wonderful insights. Before we move to Q&A, With the help of quick poll, we would like to note down your area of interest in order to organize future webinars with more value-based content. So launching the poll. Thank you for participating. I'll be closing the poll now. Let's quickly move towards the Q&A part now. Hi Rashi, could you please check if you have any questions if you want to take up? I think there are no questions. Let's move forward. Uh, you will receive an email in next couple of days wherein presentation and session recording would be available to you at a single click. So please do look out for an email in your inbox. So these are the upcoming sessions which you can see on the screen. Please register or ask your colleague to register and be part of the webinars. Before you leave us, we would like to have a quick feedback on today's session. So launching the poll. Thank you for participating. Closing the poll now. One last thing before you leave us. Have you attended any of our previous advisory webinar sessions? Launching the poll. Thank you, everyone. We will be closing the poll now. Thank you once again for your valuable time. Bye, everyone. Thank you.